Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial. Some of you requested on my how I draw faces video to make more tutorials, so here I am to show you guys how I draw hair. It's definitely not the right way or the wrong way, it's just how I draw. I'm constantly learning and studying, and I think we all should do that, constantly grow our art to improve. To make my illustrations, I use my iPad Pro. This is the 10.5. I use my Apple Pencil, and all the tools that I use to draw is all linked in the description below. This is the first generation. And to draw, I use the Procreate app. You don't need all this equipment to start. You can follow this tutorial if you use paper, pencil, if you are a traditional artist. But I am focused on digital art, so that's why I use my iPad and the Procreate app. If you don't know how to draw, don't worry. This is a beginner's tutorial. It's just a matter of practice. So you can watch my how I draw faces video and then come here and watch this one. I will try to be as simple as possible so you can learn and understand how to draw hair. Let's get into the video. Today we are gonna draw 4 different hair types, and for that I picked 4 different reference photos. It's very helpful, at least for me, to have reference photos, especially if you want to study and try out new techniques. So I really recommend you guys to have a reference photo next to you. So here we have these 4 hair types: wavy, straight, coily, and curly. To draw hair, you need to think about shape, flow, volume, movement, the hairstyle, colors, highlights, shades. There's a lot, but let's do one step at a time. So let's talk about shape first. If you try to draw hair by drawing one strand of hair at once, it's not gonna work. It's gonna be awful. You might get frustrated. At least I got frustrated when I didn't know how to draw hair and I would try to draw one strand of hair at once. So we want to look at the bigger picture first. You can first draw the shape on the reference photo, and you want to identify where the scalp is first. So then you can actually start drawing the shape. The important thing of this step is to not think about the details. So don't get focused on the details here. We are gonna do that later on. So for all the hair types, I'm gonna draw first the shape on the reference photo so you can understand better, and then I'm gonna draw on my sketch. Now let's talk about volume. As you can see here, I didn't draw the hairline super close to the scalp. I always leave some space between the scalp and the hairline to create volume. That's what we want. We want volume. So you can see here, it looks a little weird. It looks a little off if I draw the hairline right on the scalp and I don't leave any space. Okay, so now let's do the same thing and identify the shape of the hair for the different hair types. Let's move on to the straight hair. As I said before, let's identify where the scalp is and then draw the shape. On this straight hair, it actually has some layers, so I actually drew for each layer a different shape. Okay, now let's draw on our illustration. Let's move on to the next hair type. So again, I'm drawing the shape and I'm not focusing on the details. One tip is that if you think that something is off or there's something weird with the hair or the drawing, you can always use the liquify option just to fix what you want. And last hair type. After we draw the shape, I'm gonna create a new layer and then lower the opacity of the shape layer. And now we can do our second sketch with a clear line. Now let's think about the movement. See what direction the hair is moving. Now you can draw some strands of hair to give some movement and flow to the hair. Also, you can see how the end of the hair has some different directions. So have this in mind. You can draw some arrows so it can be helpful for you to understand where the direction of the hair is going. Another thing you need to pay attention in order to start with the details now are the layers, because they might have different directions too, like this straight hair. We might think that the straight hair is actually just a straight line, but it actually has some movement, and we want to draw straight hair with movement too, and to make it more interesting and fun. So you can see that I actually leave some gaps at the end of the hair, because you can see on the reference photo there are actually some gaps at the end. So to look more natural, of course it's not a realistic drawing, but just to look a little bit more natural, I also leave some gaps. So if you want, you can do that too. So you can actually mix in some thick and thinner lines by putting more pressure or less pressure on your pencil when you draw. So you can see here that by doing that, it actually looks more flowy instead of just drawing a thick line to all of your drawing. So if you want to separate some chunks of hair, do that by using a thicker line and then add some thinner ones to add movement. In the beginning of the sculpt, as you can see here, I just draw some strands of hair so it can look more that the hair is not only placed on top of the head, but it actually is part of the drawing. For this hair type, I actually just draw some curled lines, and not all the strands of hair need to be connected. I just draw some random ones, and it just gives the sense of real curly hair. For the curly hair, I also draw some more curvy lines at the end too, and around the shape, so we can give this sense of curly hair. And inside, I actually draw some strands of hair, and also I don't connect all of them. So now I'm just gonna create a new layer so I can actually create a clear sketch with all that we did. And I love the messy look, so I always add some strands of hair outside the hair just to create this messy look and flowy look. Okay, now I'm gonna continue with the clear sketch with all the different hair types. I'm gonna speed up this process. Make sure you practice with me, so if you want, you can just get your paper, your iPad, whatever you have with you, and start practicing and start studying with me. So here I think there is too much volume, so I'm just gonna adjust a little bit with the liquify. Now I just want to give you an extra content. Let's talk about coloring. And to do that, I'm gonna just create a quick example of how I color my hair. So I create a new layer under the sketch layer and I add the color that I want for my hair first. And I just color all the hair with one color for now. To add the shades, I actually create a new layer and I put this layer on multiply mode. I select the same color hair that I picked before and it's gonna create a darker shade of the color by just putting on this multiply mode. And then you can see on the reference photo where the shades are, so it can actually give you a direction and a guideline. And I just add the shades where I need, and you can see here where the shades are actually on the curve, the lower curve of the hair. I don't know how to explain, but you can see on the video what I mean. And to add the highlights, I create a new layer again, but this time I'm gonna put the mode on overlay. And I'm gonna select a bright yellow color so it can give this highlight effect. And you can see again on the reference photo where the highlights are. And I'm just gonna do the same thing on my illustration. I'm gonna create a new tutorial on how to use Procreate where I'm gonna explain to you all these functions, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, that's how I color hair and I add some shades and highlights. I hope you liked this quick tutorial. I hope it encouraged you to just start practicing and learning. Don't forget to have fun drawing and follow me for more. I'll post another tutorial next week, so stay tuned and see you later. Bye!